Okay, so this is where we left off last time. We finished up our navigation section, so the next thing we're going to do is move on to our the main content that's going to be on there. So, just to review real quick what we did yesterday, we added a head section and fixed all that, and then inside the body section, we have a main container that holds all our other containers or all our other elements. The first main element in that is header. Inside there had an H1. Then we had a nav as our second container element. And inside that we had an unordered list. And inside that unordered list we had a bunch of list items that had hyperlinks. Alright, so the next thing we're going to do is go on to the next part, and that's going to be our section. And in our section we have two main elements, or two main containers. The first one being an article. And inside that article we're going to have an H2. And we're just going to put some placeholder text in there for now. Important stuff. Okay, and then we're going to have some content. And of course that content is going to be in a paragraph tag. And we're just going to put some placeholder content, and it's built into Sublime Text by just typing LOREM and then tab. Automatically puts a paragraph of content in there, and that's going to allow us just to see how everything looks, make sure everything's looking good before adding the actual content. Alright, so after the article we have another main element in that section, and that's going to be the aside. And inside the aside we have an H2 and a bunch of paragraphs. I'm not going to type that. I am going to copy and paste that. Whoa. Alright, I need to move all this stuff over. Okay, and if I select all this, and then I hold down the shift key and hit tab, it'll move it over so it all works out. Okay, so that's what we want right there. Okay, that is the end of the aside. And then after section we have another main container, and we're going to call that footer. And again, in the footer we have an H3 and some paragraphs. And again, I'm just going to simply copy that content and paste it in so we're not sitting here forever watching this. There we go. Of course, because I copy and pasted it, it's going to be a mess, so let's move it all together. Alright. And then this should probably move over too. So we'll do Shift Tab and move this underneath that footer. Excellent, our HTML is all over. So the next thing we're going to start working on is our tennis CSS. So let's go ahead and open that up. Well, before we do that, let's see how this looks without. So let's do File, Save All. Then we'll go back into Windows Explorer, and I'll go ahead and open this with Chrome. Come on. And this is how it's going to look. So there's no formatting, but you can see these are hyperlinks. This is an unordered list. There's our H2, paragraph, paragraphs, and then another H2, and then it all ends on the bottom. Alright, so that is everything, but we want to go ahead and style it now. So for that, we're going to have to do some CSS. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is style the body. So I'm going to type body. That's what we call a selector, and it's selecting that element. Then I'm putting in the braces, and I'm doing then background color, and I want that background color to be blue. And then I do a semicolon. Okay, and then if I do File and Save All, and then I come back to the browser and hit refresh, we can see that we now have a blue background. And my hyperlinks have all disappeared because they are also blue. But that's, we're going to want to go ahead and do a little bit more styling, because that blue background is not going to be the background. It's going to be the background of our pet body, but not of our main section. So the next thing we're going to do is style main. Okay, and main, we're going to give it a different background color. And this one is going to be light blue. Now, I should be using hex codes for these, but when I do instruction, I tend to put these in because most people don't know what blue is, if it's 10AF02, but they know the word blue. So I use these colors, but in production you really should be using hex codes or HSLs in order to be able to give a digital one. There's only about 140 different colors that we can use by name, whereas there's 17.2 million colors we can do by hex codes. So hex codes is really what we should be using, but like I said, it's easier in instruction for you to be able to understand what the colors are versus a hex code. Alright, well, that's not all we want to do. The other thing we want to do is we want to give it a width. Alright, so we don't want it to be 100% or completely cover up the other blue background. And what we want to do is on a larger screen, we don't want it covering the entire screen. We want to have gutters on either end. Those gutters will get larger and smaller depending on the size of the screen. So we're going to make this 97%, which is going to give us a 1.5% on either side when we do our next attribute, and that is going to be our margin. So right now, if we did that, it'll have 3% on the right side. But let's go ahead and see that before we move on. File, save all, and then refresh, and you can see that now I have this blue background, but you can see that I have too much over here and not enough over here, and that's because it's given all the 3% is going to go on this side. So what I want to do is I want to have it so I want to spread it out on both sides, and we're going to do that with margin. Okay, and the margin we want to have is, I'm going to say 0 up and down, and then auto left and right. So this is margin top, margin bottom. This one here is margin left and margin right. And auto says take whatever's left over and automatically place it equally on both sides. Alright, so do File and Save All, and then refresh. And you can see now it moved it over. Now we have it's all equal on all sides. Alright, and that looks like it's about the end of this section here. So we'll do File, Save All, and then you see this is how it ends here.